All right, we're not quite starting yet. This morning. So glad that you came, both online and in person. There's more chairs here, so those of you who are online that want to join us in person, please do. So, as usual, welcome to Communitas. We are an international church, and just so glad to be here in Riga and helping people connect with Jesus and connect with one another. And we have coffee and tea and snacks if you need them throughout the time. Please come. Pastor Mark is going to be sharing from Psalms chapter 1, 2, and 3 this morning about and some topic connected to relationships. And our tours will come and lead us in worship. But I've been reading this book lately, and I'm in a part where it's talking about worship. And really, we don't just worship when we sing songs at church. We worship every day, all throughout the day. By nature, we are created as beings to worship. But what we worship controls our heart, and in turn, controls what we do with people and in situations. And so it's important to think about what controls our heart. For me, I have different things that can control my heart versus worshiping the one true God. I can be controlled by money, thinking, if I just have more, I will feel secure or safe or comfortable. Or work, even though that's good, it can become my identity and where I find my value. Or even relationships, which are necessary for our lives. If that becomes the focus of, that's where I get my love and my belonging and what I need totally, is that will move my heart and control it. And we were designed to worship the one true God. And as I've found that as I have my identity and my security, my belonging, and my love found in Him, life happens, work happens, relationships happen, but it's surrounded by a settledness in my soul because Jesus has that center. So I just want to welcome up our tours to lead us in worship. Let me pray as he comes up. Jesus, thank you for today. Thank you that you are the one who is worthy of worship. And I pray that, whatever is controlling our hearts, even the good things, I pray that you would take first place. So help us draw close to you today, Jesus. Amen.
Good morning. We'll start with an old hymn again. Yes, Search Me, O God. Okay, it's a cappella song. You're going to help me out. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way. Lead me in the way, lead me in the way everlasting. You have known me, you have known me, my down sittings, my uprisings. You understand my thoughts from afar. You know all my ways, you know all my ways. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way. Lead me in the way, lead me in the way everlasting. You have known me, you have known me, my down sittings, my uprisings. You understand my thoughts from afar. You know all my ways, you know all my ways. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. Where is the house you'll build for me? Whom you will hear the cry of my heart. Where will my resting place be? One more time. Heaven is my throne. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. Where is the house you'll build for me? Whom you will hear the cry of my heart. Where will my resting place be? Here, O Lord, have I prepared for you a home. Long have I desired for you to dwell. Here, O Lord, have I prepared a resting place. Here, O Lord, I wait for you alone. Heaven is is my throne, and earth is my footstool. Yeah. Where is the house you built for me? Who you will hear the cry of my heart. Where will my resting place be? Here, O Lord, have I prepared for you a home. Long have I desired for you to dwell. Here, O Lord, have I prepared a resting place. Here, O Lord, I wait for you alone. Here, O Lord, have I prepared for you a home. Long have I desired for you to dwell. Here, O Lord, have I prepared a resting place. Here, O Lord, I wait for you alone. Here, O Lord, I wait for you alone. Peace I give to you, joy I offer you, love will live in you as we seek your face. Peace I give to you, joy I offer you, love will live in you as we seek your face. Lord, as we seek your face, let them see you, let them see you. As we see your grace, let them know you, let them know you. Let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes through me. Peace I give to you, joy I offer you, love will live in you as we see your face. Peace I give to you, peace that I give, joy that will live in you as we see your face. Lord, as we seek your face, let them see you, let them see you. As we seek your grace, let them know you, let them know you. Let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes through me. Let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes, let them see your eyes through me.
working. Okay. Anyway, apologies for technology, but thank you. But yeah, like I said, feel free to move around, get something to eat. We always know that Ivy is back because there's always special things on the table. But even before that, there's several people, by the way, who always come early to set up and also to bring food. So you might find out who those people are and thank them because they make that table possible. And it's also always a surprise who's going to be here. So some new faces. So thank you for coming. By the way, after the service, we have a brother who's involved in relief work in Ukraine and so forth. So you might have a word with him, especially if you want to find out maybe ways that you might be able to be involved or be a blessing, or at least find out what's going on and someone specific you can pray for who's involved in work in Ukraine. Check with them after the service over there. Again, some new faces, some people back from, Becky's back from America, and Vadas is back from a trip to America, and people come as they are. Some people wear ties. Of course, the only one wearing a tie is Boji the puppy. Okay, other people are in pajamas and bare feet. Of course, they're also little guys, but just come as you are. Feel free to make yourself at home and comfortable here. But meanwhile, I'm going to do my job, which is to turn to the Word for a little bit. And we're spending a few weeks just looking at more or less random Psalms. The first Sunday in September, we're going to start going through the book of Galatians. Okay, and we're going to spend many weeks in that, so that'll be kind of a slow process. I would really, really love it if not only you would all read the book of Galatians before that series starts, but maybe make a commitment to read it once a week. It's just 6 chapters. You can read the whole thing in probably 30 to 40 minutes, and you could do that once a week throughout the series, and it really is transforming when you not just read Scripture and then move on to the next, but you read and reread and reread, and your mind gets immersed in the ideas. If you've never done that, if you never had that light bulb go off in your head from engaging with Scripture that way, you really need to do that, and this would be a good time to do that with the book of Galatians. But today, we're looking at a couple Psalms. We'll do that next week, and then probably 2 weeks, Galatians will start. But this is a kind of universal phenomenon of people wondering where they fit. Is there a circle of other human beings where you feel like you belong with them? Of course, a lot of television and films that are geared to, let's say, teenagers, it's all about that. I mean, in America, there's multiple television programs that are about school kids, and almost always the main theme is, someone wanting to belong, and it's a new student at the school, and they feel they don't belong, and the whole thing is about trying to find a circle of friends that accept them, and sometimes it's a tragedy. They don't maybe find a circle of friends, or they compromise who they are to find that circle of friends, but it's pretty much universal, I think, in all cultures of wanting to have somewhere where you are at home, a group of people. And of course, many of you came to Latvia to study or maybe to work, and you didn't know anyone. And probably one of the biggest things in your mind was, am I going to connect with anyone? Will I have anyone to hang out with? Will I have any friends? And maybe some of you have that kind of personality that you just knew, of course I'm going to have friends. Everyone likes me and it'll be great. Some of us don't have that personality, okay? Some of us really don't have that kind of confidence. But in some of you, in the last couple months, this has been a major part of what's going on in your mind. In fact, one of the reasons that Communitas International Church was started is the reality that many Latvian churches struggle to welcome new people, outsiders, Okay, and so, other people kind of encouraged me to consider planning this church because there needed to be a community where you could come and be accepted as you are. Okay? I think you know what I'm talking about. I think most of you, if not all of you, have experienced that, and some of you are maybe feeling that now, wanting to belong and not being sure if you belong, maybe feeling a little bit different, a little bit out, wondering if people see you, if they care about you, if they like you, if they respect you, if you can make a difference in the world. Okay, so this is kind of a universal experience, and the Psalms that we're going to look at are going to talk a little bit about finding a home and what kind of people they are who might find a home, first with God and then with others. We're going to start with Psalm 1. And Psalm 1 is probably intentionally written as an introduction to the entire book of Psalms. There's many different kind of Psalms that we've already looked at. In just a couple weeks we've looked at them. This is kind of what's called a wisdom psalm. It's about living your life wisely. And as so often in wisdom literature, it's about options. It's about choices, and you can go one way or another. So here it begins, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the company of mockers. But rather, blessed is the one whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers." Now, that first verse about not walking in step with the wicked, the way of sinners, and not sitting, company of mockers, it's not talking about literally physically not being in company with, let's say, non-Christians or whatever. I grew up in a world where we were kind of discouraged to hang out with non-Christians, kind of keep separated and so forth. And this verse was sometimes quoted, "Oh, don't hang around with those kind of people." And so there'd be church sports leagues. We're just going to play basketball with other Christians, and we're just going to play baseball with other Christians. We're going to keep ourselves separate. That's not what this psalm is talking about. Okay? Actually, proximity to everyone in the world is very important. Separation, literal physical separation, is not God's way. But it's talking about being separate from the way, from the lifestyle, from making yourself at home with a group of people who will take you down another sort of path. Okay? Especially that sitting in the company of mockers. That's the desire. I mean, first you're kind of walking along and your feet fall in step without even thinking about it. They fall in step with wherever you're walking, and then you're kind of, wow, this is a good conversation, and you kind of stop and you get more deep in that lifestyle, and then you settle down in that lifestyle. That's what this particular psalm is talking about. But rather, blessed is the man who delights in God's ways. Law is not just a list of rules, as we've already talked about. It's God's values, God's ways, how God operates, and living in step with God's ways. That person is blessed. But then that's contrasted with, there we go. The second panel of this psalm. Not so the wicked. The person who's blessed is like a tree planted by streams of water, but the wicked are not like that. They're like the chaff that the wind blows away. Okay, and so that's when you're, not sure the English word. You got wheat, and you're threshing it, and you're breaking it up. You back then you break it up and you toss it in the air, and the wind would blow the chaff off. Okay, because it's lighter and useless, and the real grain would fall to the ground, and then the chaff would just be blown away, and you wouldn't try to collect it because it's good for nothing. It doesn't produce fruit. It's useless. Maybe you try to feed animals with it, but that's about the best that it does. That's what the wicked are like. The wind just comes along, they've got no weight, they've got no gravity, they're not solid people inside. They're empty persons. And when the wind comes, they're blown away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. Once again, it's kind of about who's going to belong where. What is the community where you will be at home with? And then finally, the psalm concludes with a summary statement of these two parts, these two panels. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. So the psalm talks about being blessed, and that's kind of I don't want to say useless word, but it's a word that is a very church kind of word, and it's probably not an English word that you might often use during the week, and I think a lot of times we hear the word blessed if you're reading, again, let's say an English version of the Bible, and that sounds good, but what does blessed mean? What does it mean to be blessed? When someone says, I feel blessed, what do they feel? What is that about? Here, it has a more kind of precise meaning than just kind of positive vibes. It's the idea of literally, people often want to translate it happy, okay, but happy is kind of a dangerous word because happy is, it's kind of like, let's just all be happy. And how people, the stereotype of Americans is they're always smiling, they always seem happy, and they're always talking, and it's not just happiness like, I'm just a happy, like Boji, the puppy, is always happy most of the time because it's like, life is great. There's all these people, everyone loves me, and everyone wants to pet me. It's not, that kind of happiness that Boji experiences is fine, but that's not what it means to be blessed. It's more like flourishing. Your life is flourishing. It's fulfilled. It doesn't necessarily mean easy, okay? In fact, often it doesn't. Often when we feel like we've accomplished something, it's because of hard work. But when you finish a project for school or something, and you reach that goal and you feel fulfilled and your life path is flourishing, that's what it's talking about. Okay, a person who lives this way is going to feel like their life makes a difference. That's also a pretty basic human need. A need for community. Who am I going to belong to? What circle can I be at home with? But then the other basic human need is to make some kind of a difference, to have significance, to feel like you're on this earth for a purpose, and it matters, that you matter, that your life bears some kind of fruit. Again, that's a pretty basic human desire and need even. And the psalm is telling us what kind of person might be on the path to experience that, the kind of happiness or joy that comes from living a life that makes a difference, that has significance, that brings good into the world. And Jesus, of course, talked about being blessed. Blessed are the poor in spirit. And he goes through talking about what these blessed people look like. They don't always look blessed by human standards, but at least according to Jesus' words, these are blessed in God's kingdom. These two panels from Psalm 1 kind of have echoes in later Psalms. And what I want to do for a few minutes now is to look at two Psalms that look at those kind of two panels from Psalm 1. And then the next Psalm I want to look at is Psalm 5. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my sign. Listen to my cry for help, my King and my God. For to you I pray. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my request before you and wait in expectation. Morning might be a good time, to get up and to engage with God. And for some people, that's kind of a discipline. You set your alarm. I'd encourage you to try that, too, as an experiment this year. Set your alarm 15 minutes early, get up, get your coffee or whatever, and then read Galatians. But it might be that the psalmist isn't intentionally getting up early in order to pray. He's getting up early because his body is just waking up because of the stress of life, because of the enemies that are around him, the challenges of life, and it wakes him up early in the morning. And again, some of you know what that's like. You wake up early in anxiety. Maybe you couldn't get to sleep very easily. And then you just wake up and immediately everything that's going on in the day comes before you. And it's like, man, I don't know if I can get out of bed. I don't know if I can face, oh, that's right, I got to do this. And I told this person I was going to do this. And wow, that email, I'm already weeks late on that. And you're just, all those thoughts press in the morning. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my request before you. You are not a God, though, who takes pleasure in evil. With you, the wicked cannot dwell. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. Bloodthirsty and deceitful men the Lord abhors. But I, by your great mercy, I will come into your house. I will find a home with you. It's not just talking about going to church. It's about being at home, feeling at home with God. In reverence, I will bow down toward your holy temple. Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make straight your way before me. The prayer is not just that God will deliver him, from the enemies doing something bad to him. Part of the prayer is, God, deliver me from becoming like them. Don't let me turn from the right path to their path. Deliver me from making their choices. Protect me from them, but deliver me from going down that path. That's part of what this prayer is. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with destruction. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongue they speak deceit. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them. Kind of like this. It's that image. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. For surely, O Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. There's different images that psalm ends with. One is this. It really is like, God being asked to be like a mother hen that literally shelters like a mother does her children. Then the other image is kind of the common warlike image, a shield going out to war, and God is the shield. God is the protector. God is who stands before you and the enemy, preventing you from being hit with the arrows of the enemy. So that's kind of the image, the positive image of this psalm. But especially what I want to focus on for this sermon is the parts of Psalm 5 that match this panel of Psalm 1. You are not a God who is pleased with wickedness. With you, evil people are not welcome. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. The bloodthirsty and deceitful, you, Lord, detest. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with malice. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongues they tell lies. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Let them be trapped in their own nets. Their own evil plots may they reverse on them, and may they face the consequences. I mean, in some places you'd call this karma, but the psalmist doesn't believe in karma. He's talking about God's action in the world. So Psalm 5 is kind of fleshes out this one second panel from Psalm 1. The next psalm I want to look at kind of fleshes out the first panel of Psalm 1, and that's going to be Psalm 15. If I can turn my Bible there. So this is the first part of Psalm 1. Okay, and Psalm 5, I think you can see, hope you can see. Oops, sorry. Having a rough day today. You can see how Psalm 5 or 15 kind of matches that introduction that we found in Psalm 1. Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? Who can find a home with you? This isn't talking about going to heaven when you die. Yeah, often we read things, in terms of what, this is somewhere out there, and when we die, we hope to go to heaven. And of course, that's a good thing, and probably we all would like to make it to paradise in the end. But that's not really what the psalmist is talking about here. He's talking about here and now, being at home with God. Who is it whose life is going to fit with God's ways so that they feel at home in that world? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to his neighbor, casts no slur on others, who despises the vile person, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts, and does not change their mind, who lends money to the poor without interest, who does not accept a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. That last line, never be shaken, once again, it's not about everything's going to go smooth and work out perfectly. Okay, the Psalms are filled with people whose lives were not easy, who were externally shaken by circumstances. Okay, what won't be shaken is their home with God. What won't be shaken is their relationship with God, because God is the solid, God is the foundation, and they can find an unshakable relationship with God, and that's the anchor, that's the surety that they have to face a life and world that is very shaky. Okay, that's very shaky. They found a foundation. They found a solid place. They're at home with God. Now, the main thing I want to do, though, is to put these two parts together from Psalm 5 and Psalm 15, where kind of these two ways or two paths are fleshed out. Okay? And what I want us to consider is what this tells us about what is important to God. What does God value? When God looks at people, what is it He most looking for? What choices does He want to see? Where does He want to see people placed? What does He want to see people doing? So just try to take a look again. I know that it's a very small font and that's not ideal, but I wanted to kind of have the full text there in front of you. If you need to, most of you have your Bible on your phone, and phone's not easy to go back and forth between two texts, but just consider the kinds of things that are listed here. I mean, both of these Psalms have lists of behaviors of people who are or are not at home with God. And this reveals something important about God's values. And often they are not the kinds of things that in the end God's people value as they should. I mean, one of the obvious things you should notice here is there's almost nothing about going to church, or back then going to the temple. It's not about what you do on Sunday or Saturday. There's nothing about offering your sacrifices. There's nothing about putting your money in the offering box. Okay? Almost none of that seems very religious. Okay? It's not about church. It's not about religious acts. It's not about what we do on Sunday. What we do on Sunday is important, and as I always say, I'm amazing. You won't believe how grateful I am, that people come on Sunday. Okay? And it is important. I hope this church makes a difference. Okay? But if the main thing that you do during your week with God in mind is come here on Sunday morning, then that's probably not reflecting God's values. Okay. All of this is not about our religious life, it's about our social life. It's about how we relate to one another. This is what God values. Doesn't mean He doesn't value the other things as well. Putting money in the temple, sacrifices, keeping the Sabbath, all of that was necessary and good. It was in no way a bad thing. But that by itself, without these other values, does not make a person at home with God. Our religious acts don't make us at home with God. And one of the first things you should notice here is the problem of pride. Pride, arrogance is always, always bad. Humility is always good. The sin of pride is one of those that fills the Bible, Old and New Testament. Okay? And it's, and maybe it's not true in your world. When I think of kind of my churchy world that I come from, most of the time if you talk to someone, what are the kind of the big sins? What are the bad sins? Pride would not be at the top of that list. Sexual sins maybe, murder, those things, but we sometimes give pride a pass. Well, okay, he's kind of proud, arrogant person, but he's got these right beliefs. So no interest to God. Arrogance is always bad. Pride is always bad. Pride is always bad. Any kind of pride is bad. It's dangerous. Boasting is not good. It doesn't get a pass from God. It's not one of those like, okay, I don't like it, but I'll look that over because there's these other things that are no, nothing, good acts we might do can balance arrogance. It's always bad. Okay? It's always a sin. The other thing that's important here is honesty. The importance of not telling lies. And that comes up in a number of ways. But I found this quote just this week was interesting while I was working on this sermon. One of my Facebook friends posted this, and I just found it interesting. Unpopular opinion. Some of y'all, this is an American, because some of y'all use honesty to be malicious, to be hurtful, which is why you feel like people can't handle the truth. It's not that they can't handle it, it's that your honesty is filled with arrogance and ill intent. I just feel like I've got to be honest here. I should be honest when I see this that you're doing. I'm just being honest. That's not what these Psalms are talking about, being honest with, everyone to point out, all their flaws. It's not what the Psalm is talking about. It's about our intent toward people, our heart toward people, for their good or for their evil. So one of the important things in these two panels of the Psalms is, how do we treat one another? How do we see one another? How do we behave toward one another? What do we see? What do we think when we see people? What words come out of our mouths? What thoughts fill our hearts? What do we do? Not just choosing to not do bad things. I mean, I imagine no one in this room intentionally this week tried to hurt someone. Okay, probably you weren't like, oh, wow, I'm going to get that guy, I'm going to get him this week, and you did it. That's probably, at least here in this company, none of you were like that. But God values not just kind of the minimum of not hurting people, but seeing people, seeing their needs, and taking some kind of an action. For the poor, can you do something about that? But especially, I'm thinking, we started this sermon about people wanting to find a community, a circle where they're at home. It's a pretty easy thing to welcome someone, to smile, to say thank you. I mean, that's really a good start. Everywhere you go, Remy and Maxima say thank you. If you're flying on an airplane, I'm thinking of David here, you don't often get to see the pilot, but when I do, I always try to thank the pilot. I try to thank the cabin staff, because some of them have to put up with pretty miserable creatures on an airplane. But there's all sorts of people you're going to meet today, let's smile. Give someone a smile today. Say thank you to someone. Certainly do it in this community, but see people with good intent. Okay, these are the kinds of things that are valued. Another interesting thing that often gets a pass is how we treat people economically. These are images from probably either Great Britain or maybe America from a little more than 100 years ago, part of the Industrial Revolution. And, you guys are pretty fortunate, that, there are now child labor laws that prevent young children from being worked like this. Okay, but, back in the day, again, in Great Britain and America, countries that were full of churches, okay, where most of the owners of these factories almost certainly went to church on Sunday. Almost certainly on Sunday would be in church. And during the week, they have kids who are working 6 days a week, 12 hours or more possibly. Okay, it happened. And some people say it wasn't always as bad as it seemed, but it was bad enough. Okay, literature is full of stories of people being downtrodden by good Christian people. And I know and I don't want to give simple solutions, because on the one hand, they did have a job, they did make some money, maybe that was kind of a good thing, but it could have been a whole lot better if people had acted in God's name truly, if God filled their factories and not just their churches. People's economic life might have been different. It was common enough. It was common enough in good Christian countries. And once again, there are places where, let capitalism free. Money is a sign of God's blessing. What does God have to do with our economic system? That's just practicality. Why should God's values invade our politics? Why should God's values invade our economic system? Why should God's values invade our bank account? These Psalms tell us what's important to God, what's important to God. This is really a major theme in the Old Testament, and I don't want to spend too much time. I am looking at the clock. One part of technology that always works is the clock back there, so I'm always paying attention to it. But this theme of God being much less concerned about our religious acts than our relationship and social acts, it just fills the Bible, and the prophets really came down hard. And Isaiah, I hope someone survived that. Isaiah 58 is just an incredible piece of prophecy and incredibly sarcastic, one of the most sarcastic pieces in the Bible. For day after day they seek me out. They seem eager to know my ways, as if they're a nation that does what is right and hasn't forsaken the commands of God. They ask me for just decisions. They seem eager for God to come near them. They say, "Why we fasted? Why didn't you see it? We humbled ourselves. Why didn't you notice?" And this is what God replies. "But on the day of your fasting, on the day of your religious acts, you do as you please. You exploit all your workers. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife and striking each other with wicked fists. You cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. You're not going to find a home with me," God says, if that's what your heart is like. You're not going to feel at home. It's not a matter of, I'm going to punish you. It's just you're not going to feel at home with a heart like that. Is this the kind of fast I have chosen, only a day for man to humble himself outwardly? Is it only for bowing your head outwardly and lying in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke, to turn over the social order if necessary so that justice prevails. Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? God is okay with fasting and keeping the Sabbath, but only if it's accompanied by all of God's values. And so it says, then, if this is the kind of fasting you practice, then your light will break out like the dawn. Then you will be blessed and fulfilled and flourishing and make a difference in the world. So these two Psalms, looking at them side by side, communicate quite clearly, I think, God's values and the kinds of values He wants His people to reflect. Then that person who adopts these values will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season. Its leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. It makes a difference in the world. Now, the danger of this kind of sermon is it can kind of set up, another kind of legalism, and then, often we might think, okay, here's another list of things I've got to do, and at least for me, when I, put myself alongside those values in these Psalms, I can fairly easily check off, ways in which I fail and I don't measure up. Okay? And, there's a sense in which if we're guilty, we're guilty, and we need to, face our guilt and deal with our guilt. several of you were looking at your phone. Is that my phone? Or it's okay. You're all safe, except for the one person who isn't. But it's okay. It was Kelvin. I'll tell on him. So, but Kelvin contributes. It's okay. Anyway, okay. Okay, so I want to end with just not another kind of legalism, okay, but another way of viewing these values. All of these values are values that Jesus himself communicated. I mean, for instance, in the common, well-known parable of the Good Samaritan, you know, it's intentional when Jesus told that story. The people who did not help, you know, the guy who was robbed was the priest and the Levite. The religious people who should have helped, in Jesus' parable, they did not. Okay, and then the person that they didn't expect to be helpful was the one who actually understood God's values. But Jesus himself is the amazing example of these values. I mean, he communicates to us what humility is. If anyone didn't have to be humble, it was Jesus, the Son of God. You know what I'm saying? If anyone had a right to be arrogant, it was Jesus. The one human being on the face of the earth who could justifiably have been arrogant. Oh, by the way, I'm sinless. You know, look at me, and I should be king, and why don't you all meet my needs? He's the one who got on his knees and washed feet. And he's the one who did everything for the sake of others. And it was actually the poor outcast sinners who found a home with Jesus. I mean, people who had no home, lepers, people with this skin disease that had literally no home, no circle of friends, literally for year after year, found a home with Jesus. And so that's the good news, is that even when we don't measure up, the amazing Jesus includes us in his circle. And the way that we can begin to value these and live them out is by joining Jesus and knowing him. In Psalm 1, his delight is in the law of the Lord. For us now, we could say our delight is in Jesus. And in the way of Jesus, we meditate day and night. We spend time with Jesus. We read about him and meditate on him. And we speak to him. And in all the different kinds of people that we spend time with and should spend time with, we also spend time with Jesus' people, where we are helped to become these kinds of people. I'm not a man of action. I'm a man of ideas, and I'm not the kind of person, you know, who makes things happen. You know, if the poor were dependent on me alone, you know, to get help, they would probably be helpless. Okay? But I can be a part of a community where together we can meet those needs. I probably can't do it by myself. Okay? But I can be part of this community. I can be at home in a community where as a community we can live out these values together, and we become stronger people in this Jesus community with Jesus in the center. Arturs is going to come up. Where is Arturs? Oh, there, he's right in front of me. This song that we're going to sing is very much the conclusion of this sermon.
When the music fades, all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's a word that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. King of endless worth, no one could express how much you deserve. Though we can pour, all I have is yours, every single breath. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the ways things appear. You're looking into my heart. Oh yeah, I'm coming back, heart on worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the things I made it, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, the things I made it, when it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back, heart of worship. It's all about you. All about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, the things I made it, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus.
Thanks for being here today. Listen, you're at home with God. God wants to be at home with you. Okay, believe that. He wants to be at home with you, and it can be real. So be with God. Walk with Jesus this week. Have a great week. God willing, see you next Sunday.